The Glock 43X is a debatably subcompact handgun introduced as a competitor to the SIG P365. I've had this gun since September of 2019, and I've put about 800 rounds through mine. I've had plenty of time to shoot it and evaluate it as a defensive carry option. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Those of you who have owned and shot the original Glock 43 will notice immediately that this pistol almost seems like an updated Gen 5 version of that pistol. It sports many of the new Gen 5 features, including the orange magazine followers, which I'm a huge fan of. The 43X is a sorta single-stack concealed carry offering from Glock, which was introduced in January of last year. The 43X really feels like just another Me Too gun. It was hastily released shortly after SIG released their P365. Which, in my opinion, is a revolutionary concealed carry pistol, and it's because of the P365 magazine design that I believe it to be revolutionary. The P365 is about the same size as the original Glock 43, but it features a 10-round flush-fitting magazine based on SIG's own proprietary design. The Glock 43X also features a 10-round magazine. However, the grip is just as long as the Glock 19. This really makes it kind of pointless if you ask me. Why make a subcompact pistol if it isn't really subcompact? After all, Glock markets the 43X as a subcompact. The Achilles heel of this marketing tactic is that the 43X is the largest and most difficult to conceal pistol in this category. Its slide and barrel are the exact same length as the standard Glock 43, but its Glock 19 sized grip really begs the question. Why bother? Anyone who grounds their thinking in physics knows that the hardest part of the gun to conceal is its grip. So, why take a perfect slide and barrel length for a subcompact concealed carry pistol and stick them on a grip that's the size of a Glock 19 but with 5 less rounds? Of course, you could bring up the new S15 magazines from Shield Arms. However, those magazines are near impossible to find, and even if you do manage to find them, they are ridiculously overpriced, making it nearly pointless to buy them to begin with. You're already going to spend a decent amount of money on the gun itself, so why would I also want to pay several hundred extra dollars for a few magazines that have 5 more rounds when I can just as easily buy a Glock 19 that has the same magazine capacity but for cheaper? Not to mention, the Glock 19 has magazines that are exponentially more readily available and a fraction of the price of the S15s. The cons outweigh the pros for sure. All that aside, the Glock 43X has what is, in my opinion, the best out-of-the-box trigger pull of any Glock to date. But another complaint of mine is that the trigger is one of those annoying serrated triggers. Nobody wants a serrated target trigger in their gun. I've never understood what the point of that trigger design is, but it led me to replace the trigger with an Apex tactical kit for the duration of time that I carried this gun. The slide and barrel are compatible with the original Glock 43 and vice versa. However, the 43X slide and barrel have some new features. Glock has updated their rifling design. I could live without it, but either way, this is a feature that they seem to be really proud of. They've started marketing the new barrels as their marksman barrels. It is true that the barrels feature improved rifling, but the notion that they're more accurate than earlier barrels is what I believe to be a marketing gimmick. When Glock initially released the 43X and 48, they began marketing a new kind of slide finish. It's some sort of NPVD finish, but either way, it absolutely sucks. Black or silver, this finish is terrible. It's slippery, cheap, and it wears away with minimal use. I will admit that the black finish does look good, especially in comparison to the quote-unquote silver finish, which, believe it or not, is actually what Glock refers to the finish as. However, both appear to retain the same level of durability, or lack thereof. These pistols come from the factory with front slide serrations, so that's a nice touch for sure. Glock has also started beveling the muzzle for ease of holstering. Again, this is something I could live without. I don't think a slight dimensional change is really going to make that much of a difference when I'm holstering my gun. I'm pretty sure I know how to get the muzzle into the top of the holster. But hey, at least the slide and the muzzle of the frame are actually both beveled this time around. While Glock has started releasing their pistols with Ameriglow and OEM night sights, they do still sell these pistols with those janky plastic sights. As can be expected, I actually managed to break the original plastic sights out of the dovetail. Glock, if you're going to sell pistols intended for self-defense, stop putting those crappy plastic sights on them. It's 2020. Nobody wants plastic sights on their pistol. Over the course of time I've had this gun, I've had at least 4 malfunctions with it. All of the malfunctions were either a stovepipe or a failure to eject. I had these malfunctions within the first 500 rounds I'd put through the pistol, which leads me to believe that they had to do with the pistol's break-in period. Regardless, that amount of unreliability is unacceptable for a defensive carry pistol. Even worse, one of those malfunctions happened to be while I was shooting carry ammunition through the pistol. 4 malfunctions out of 500 rounds is a malfunction percentage of 0.8%, which, in my opinion, is totally unacceptable. Ergonomically speaking, the Glock 43X feels great. It's thinner than a Glock 19, but wider than a Glock 43, and thus it fits my hand very nicely. I know Glocks aren't touted as the most ergonomically pleasing pistols in the world, but in my opinion, they are actually quite ergonomic. I've found that the size of the 43X's controls are adequate, and that said controls are placed adequately on the gun. I don't have to change my firing grip to release the magazine or hit the slide lock. I really like the grip angle of the 43X, but I don't think it's noticeably an improvement over the original Glock 43. These are both pistols that I find very comfortable to handle and shoot, but as much as I like the 43X, I would have to choose the original Glock 43 hands down. Something else I need to bring up is the ease of reloading. This gun is so difficult to reload quickly and efficiently, but I haven't a clue why. I can reload most guns easily and quickly, but it seems like the 43X just binds up when I try to reload it. The magazine inexplicably manages to fight me on the reload almost every single time. Going slow, it presents no problems that I've noticed, but speed is something that the 43X just for some reason does not like. Last summer, I was in the process of choosing my primary summer carry gun for the following year. After doing a bit of research, I decided on the Glock 43X, and I got mine in September of 2019. The longer I've carried a gun, the more I've grown to recognize my own limitations. I'm tall, but I'm certainly not very wide. Thus, concealing larger pistols under something like a t-shirt can sometimes be an arduous task, to say the least. That in mind, I wanted to try out a subcompact concealed carry piece. I've had a decent amount of experience with both the Glock 43X and the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield, so I wanted to choose between those two, especially given that I wanted a pistol which would accept TrueGlow TFX Pro sights. That's the sight picture that just works for me. So I didn't want to go with something like the SIG P365 or P365 XL, which feature proprietary sights. And I didn't want to choose the Springfield Armory Hellcat because I don't consider Springfield to be a relevant or valid firearms manufacturer. After doing a bit of shooting with the Glock 43 and M&P Shield, I decided on the Glock. Only I decided on the 43X instead. The gun bug for the 43X bit me back in 2019, and I just had to have one. Ironically enough, my quest for a more easily concealable carry gun led me to the most difficult to conceal pistol in my collection. I guarantee some of you are asking, so do you recommend it? And my answer to that is not really. The ensuing question, I'm sure, is why? You love the ergonomics and you can shoot the pistol really well, so why don't you recommend it? And the simple answer to that is concealability. I can't conceal this gun worth a crap. I've tried different holsters, different clothing, everything. Nothing helps me conceal the Glock 43X any better unless I dress more heavily. But at that point, it really defeats the purpose of it being a summer carry gun. It takes all the dimensions you don't want on a subcompact concealed carry gun and mashes them together. Don't get me wrong, I like the crossover Glocks, the 43X included. I think the compact slide and barrel on full-size frames alone is a genius idea in practice, and the Glock 19X and Glock 45 balance better than just about any pistol I've ever handled. But the 43X falls short in the concealment category. Sure, it's less material up front, which makes it better for people like myself who enjoy appendix carry. But with how long the grip is, physics are really working against you when carrying this gun. The Glock 43 has the advantage of being very small and easy to conceal, while also being easy to shoot. The Glock 48 has the advantage of being very thin and ergonomic, but the Glock 43X has no real advantages. It's a middle child in the most ironic sense of the term. Some people like it and some people hate it. I'm somewhere in the middle. I like the 43X. It's a good gun that I would and have trusted my life to. It shoots well and is comfortable to carry, but I feel like Glock missed the mark with this one somewhere along the line of concealability. They were so worried about releasing a 10-round subcompact to compete with the P365 that they didn't take the time to design something that actually has a useful place in the concealed carry market.
I don't think you're giving us our due credit. Our scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
All they really did was make a harder to conceal Glock 19 with worse ballistics and less magazine capacity. At least the Glock 48 has the advantage of just being a thinner Glock 19, but the 43X just makes no sense in my opinion. This could just be because of how skinny I am, but what's bizarre to me is that I can conceal a Glock 19 more easily than I can the pistol that was designed to be concealable. When it comes to comfort and ergonomics, the 43X is awesome. It's a 10 out of 10 in those categories, but concealability just isn't one of those things. That having been said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please press like and subscribe to keep up with my channel. It really helps. As always, thank you for watching and stay safe. Not to mention, the Glock 19 has magazine... Good God almighty. Glock has also started beveling the muzzle for ease of holstering. Carl, shut up! Good Lord.